How does innovation happen? Well, we've spent a long time in this course looking at a model like this. Essentially, it's not magic, it needs some kind of a structured approach to make it happen. Which is fine, except that it doesn't happen like that. It happens like this. Now don't worry if you can't see the detail, that doesn't matter. All I'd like you to see is spaghetti. Because that's what innovation really is. Knowledge spaghetti. It's technical knowledge and market knowledge and legal knowledge and financial knowledge, all sorts of knowledge held by all sorts of people inside and outside the organization. And our job, if we're going to create value from ideas, is essentially weaving those strands of knowledge together. That's what innovation really is. We might superimpose a structure on it, but we shouldn't forget that underneath, it's all about working with knowledge spaghetti. So in this world of knowledge spaghetti, we need to make connections inside and outside the organization. We need to think about networks. Now, for a startup, this is life. This is all about survival. No startup can do it all on their own. It basically is all about building networks to help make something happen. But even large and established organizations need others. We've talked in earlier films about the importance of complementary assets. Who else and what else do you need to make your idea happen? Think about Mr. Sears and Mr. Roebuck back in the 1900s in Chicago. Their great idea for remote retailing. And the device to enable that to happen is the mail order catalog. That's great, but that's not going to bring about remote retailing. What they need to do is to create a network, a system to bring many different players together, to weave those different strands of the knowledge spaghetti together to enable remote retailing. Bringing in manufacturers and suppliers of the goods they want to sell, bringing in financial houses to provide the funds, bringing in logistics and warehousing and delivery, bringing various pieces together to create value. The challenge in working with this world of knowledge spaghetti is that we have to recognize that even the largest organization needs to say to itself, not all the smart people work for us. There's knowledge out there that we're also going to need. And so the game of innovation becomes one of making connections. There's some very good reasons why we might want to move to this world of networking. After all, on the plus side, we've got complementary assets. The who else and the what else do we need to bring our great innovation vision to fruition. We can also share the risks. Innovation's risky. If there are more of us doing it, we can share those risks. And most important, what we know about networks and systems is that they have emergent properties. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So, lots of good reasons for doing networking. But on the other side, there's a big challenge. If we do it all ourselves, we're in control. If we're working with others, we don't have the same level of control. And if we're working with many partners, then suddenly we're in really difficult waters because we're trying to deal with a relationship with many different players. So we have to think about this networking thing in terms of balance. A balancing act between the opportunities, the strengths, the plus side, and the challenge of control. Let's look at a couple of examples of networking for innovation. Back in the 19th century, Christopher Scholes and some of his friends came up with a really rather attractive innovation, the typewriter, a way of accelerating the writing process, moving away from handwriting to the mechanical device, the typewriter. And they solved some of the technical problems, they raised some capital, they tried to make this work, but couldn't. They couldn't scale it. And what they eventually needed to do was to network, to build those complementary assets, and in particular, their partnership with the Remington Company made their fortunes. The Remington Company began life as a manufacturer, not least, of weapons for the American Civil War. They knew about mass production, large-scale manufacturing, and they knew about distribution, logistics, and marketing to a big market. Put those two together, you have a network, a collaboration, which effectively built the typewriter industry. Take our old friends Toyota. Now, as we've seen many times, Toyota is an extremely successful, innovative company, and it's the world's most productive car maker. But not just in its own factories, with its own way of doing things. One of the things that Toyota has done extremely well over decades is work with its network of suppliers as an innovation system. Not just having the Toyota factories really efficient and lean, but making sure all the other people contributing to their system are also efficient and lean and continuously improving. And Toyota spends a lot of time and energy managing this network. It's managing this challenge of control and building relationships. It provides support, it lends engineers, it provides investment. What they've done is bring up the whole level of that network. It's shared innovation across a network. And we can share in different directions. The idea of clusters, different enterprises in the same area, coming together, learning together, innovating together. One of the advantages there is often quite small firms can still be innovative, not because they've got rich resources on their own, but together they can move forward. That's called a community of practice. And we can see them online. Plenty of online groups are essentially communities of people sharing ideas, sharing knowledge. Now, this can really work to great effect in innovation, not least inside large organizations where the challenge may not only be how do we link with people out there, but actually, do we know what we know? Do we actually connect inside our organization? Take a company like Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble have been very interested in the last 20 years in networking. Their Connect and Develop program is about building external links, but also about building internal links across a large global corporation. One of their products is called Crest White Strips, and it's instant cosmetic dentistry. People pay a lot to have their teeth whitened. This helps them do it with a very simple product. You take a piece of film out of a packet, stick it on your teeth, leave it a while, peel it off, instant white teeth. White Strips has been a great success, but its origins go back to a community of practice. In the Crest division, which is all about teeth and toothpaste and cleaning, you'd expect them to be interested. So they're interested in this, but so too in another part of the corporation on a different continent, there are other people with a shared interest in cleaning surfaces, particularly floor cleaners and bleach. And the origin of Crest White Strips is connecting these two very different areas of interest, but with a common focus. How do we clean surfaces? In this case, teeth. And so actually, the flash technology, the bleach technology from that side, together with the tooth cleaning technology from this side, coming together, created a new product category. One of the ways in which we move the frontier in big technologies is often by creating teams made up of many different enterprises, perhaps coordinated by government or by major agencies. Much of the computing technology and the internet technology with which we're so comfortable today has its origins back around the turn of the century, and big multi-company programs, network programs, where there was a great deal of sharing in the exploration phase, trying to create the new knowledge, build the scientific base, register the patents, which then underpin the industries of the future. And most recently, we've seen this kind of shared exploration in the area of the pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic raises all sorts of challenges, one of which in the very early days was ventilation equipment. People were in hospital dying because there weren't enough ventilators. And so around the world, many different organizations from many different sectors collaborated, sharing their knowledge to innovate quickly. For example, the Formula One racing team linking up with Airbus Industries, linking up with Dyson, the vacuum cleaner makers. All of them from very different worlds, sharing their knowledge to quickly explore and innovate. So let's summarize where we've been in this film. Innovation involves knowledge spaghetti, different strands of knowledge held by different people inside and outside the organization, woven together to create value. Networking offers advantages like access to complementary assets, risk sharing, and emergent properties. But it has downside costs in terms of control and the need to build working relationships across the network. Effective networking requires paying attention to core routines around things like vision and motivation, decision-making, knowledge management and capture, conflict resolution, risk sharing, and benefit sharing. Now, let's pause for a moment and think about